Captain Stanley Thurston, known affectionately as Doc, was more than just a skilled pilot. He was a mentor, a loving husband, a father, and a man of deep faith. As chief pilot for Diplomat Aviation, he traveled the world with Dr. Myles Munroe, serving the kingdom of God with diligence and passion. Doc was not just an ambassador in the air, but also in faith, sharing the gospel with enthusiasm. His love for family, dedication to service left a lasting impression on all he touched.
Stanley was an amazing pilot.
Daddy held a lot of different positions in BFM, but one of the positions that he held really dear was being the personal pilot to Dr. Munroe.
When he said to me one day that he was going to leave the commercial side to fly with Dr. Munroe, I was actually happy about that because I knew that because of his vigilance in the cockpit, they would have some good days together.
And that is why he held that position so dear. It was his way of taking his skill and ability and his know-how and giving back to the kingdom. Because his response was always the same. He said, "Baby, it's for the kingdom." I'm like, okay, it's for the kingdom.
From my experience in talking with him, talking with his first officer, they could not have chosen a better team. I know everyone's going to say, well, how can you say that? Because I know his standard in the cockpit. I flew with him for over 30 years. And so he gave and oozed that confidence that if I'm there, I've done my checks, everything is fine, we can now go. And I know that must have been at times irritating to Dr. Munroe. And it could be because persons traveling who have to get from point A to point B sometimes do not understand the myriad of checks that has to be done in order for that pilot to start that flight. And, you know, as a pilot, he was excellent.
I think he flew for about 15 years as Dr. Munroe's personal pilot. And he was very passionate about it. He was very diligent. He was very professional. And he was so happy, you know, to be doing his part for the kingdom.
He lived for his kids. I can't count the amount of times when we have sat in the crew room, when everyone's talking about airplane, he's talking about his kids and how they're doing in school and how at that time one of his daughters was going to go off to study medicine. He was excited about that. And he never, ever, at least we've never had conversations where he didn't bring his wife Naomi up. It was his heart. And one of the things he'd always say, man, I wouldn't be doing all of this if it was not for her.
My dad, if I was to sum him up in one word, I think everybody would just use the same word, and that's passion. Daddy is the most passionate person I have ever met. He's passionate about his relationship with God. He's passionate about his relationship with my mom. He's passionate about his daughters.
So I knew that even though he never talked publicly about a lot of things that she does for him or how he feels about her, but I know that's where his heart was. And, you know, quietly he will always say, man, God gave me such a wonderful gift. I don't know what I'll do without her.
Him as a husband. Daddy, I always tell Mommy she's spoiled. He treated her like the queen that I think every husband, the way every husband should treat their wives, and he loved her dearly. And even when we went through difficult situations as it relates to my mom, health, Daddy still balanced everything. He was still there. He still showed up. He still carried us.
So he had this very, very close tie with his family, with his daughters, I know that when his grandkid came along, he was ecstatic. I mean, he didn't know how to control himself. He felt like he was the only grandfather in the world. But he had an amazing affection for his family, and he kept them always close to his heart.
As a father, when I think of my dad, I think of love, I think of security, I think of safety, I think of excitement, I think of fun, I told him a couple days before he died, I said, Daddy, you are the most motivated man I've ever met. But I also think about sacrifice, because my dad was a man that was not afraid to sacrifice. He sacrificed his time, he sacrificed his resources, he sacrificed so much. I would like for them to remember my father's legacy as a man who trusts after the heart of God.